The revival of the country's economy, job creation, sustainable energy and the SANDF troops that are in the Democratic Republic of Congo are among the key issues that are likely to be on the agenda at the first Cabinet Lekgotla of the year. It begins today and ends tomorrow. However, it comes at a time where there are rising tensions between GNU partners over the number of acts President Cyril Ramaphosa has enacted. The Freedom Front Plus has lobbied other parties to challenge the constitutionality of the Expropriation Act in the Constitutional Court, while the Democratic Alliance has lodged a formal dispute within the GNU. The resolutions taken at the Lekgotla will form the basis of the State of the Nation address that will take place in February. Well, for more on this story, we cross live to SABC News reporter Samkele Maseko. A very good afternoon to you, Samkele. Of course, lots of issues on the agenda. Tell us what you expect to come out of that meeting.
Well, Nampu, what we can say is that in the morning they started with the cabinet meeting that was chaired by President Ramaphosa, which is looking into the issues of the revival of the South African economy. And then later on this afternoon at 3 o'clock, the Cabinet Lekgotla will then begin, which will also incorporate the provincial premiers. It will incorporate also the deputy ministers, where they will further ventilate on the various issues plaguing South Africa, the government program, and what will ultimately be ventilated in the State of the Nation address in February that will be delivered by President Cyril Ramaphosa.
Is the GNU in crisis?
One may not say the GNU is in crisis, particularly when you're looking at the signing of the expropriation bill as an act of law by President Cyril Ramaphosa. This is a bill that was ultimately done by the previous parliament and previous administration, and it was just on the president's desk waiting for his particular signature. Yes, there is unhappiness from the Democratic Alliance, from the Freedom Front Plus on the signing of this particular bill. I also saw that the Patriotic Alliance, through its leader, Gaten McKenzie, they were also not purely happy with the signing of this particular bill into law. But when you look at the African National Congress, they say that this bill was before the institution or the constitution of this government of national unity, and the signing of bills prior to this particular administration, which is an administration of 9 political formations. The previous bills do not form part of those agreements that have to go that is ultimately chaired by the Deputy President of the country and Deputy President of the ANC, Paul Shipokosa Mashatile. But what we do know that will be very sticky in the cabinet and has been very sticky in the cabinet meeting in the morning has been South Africa's presence in the Great Lakes region, particularly on that peacekeeping mission of the United Nations. We do know various political formations have a million questions on this particular matter that ultimately saw the deployment of South African troops back in 2003 under the tenure of former President Mbeki. On what has South Africa's mission been within that particular area, noting that 13 South African troops have ultimately died in that conflict that is currently there within the Great Lakes region, with strategic parts of Goma now being overtaken and being in control of the M23 grouping.
Any chance, Samkele, that the government will heed the call of the likes of Carl Nihas that the troops must be brought back home?
It will be very difficult for South African troops to be brought back home instantly by just an announcement by President Cyril Ramaphosa. It has to go through various engagements, knowing that South Africa is part of the United Nations and also is a signatory there, and also noting that this mission is not essentially headed by South Africa. It is a United Nations mission within that particular area to bring peace within the Great Lakes region. We do know that President Ramaphosa did speak to Rwandan President Paul Kagame on this issue. We do know that it was also ventilated this week at the United Nations Security Council, where the South African representative to the UN, speaking at that United Nations special sitting of the United Nations Security Council, saying that and alleging that Rwanda is funding the M23 grouping or rebels within that particular area. It's going to be rather interesting on what cabinet will ultimately resolve on this particular issue. At about 2 o'clock, we will be given an opportunity to engage with the minister in the presidency, Kumbuzo Nchaveni, on this particular matter, and we will also engage with the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Ronald Lamula, on this particular matter, and also hopefully the Minister of Defense, NG Mutsecha, who we are told we may get an opportunity to engage with her as well on this particular matter. You did see earlier yesterday the Secretary General of the African National Congress, Fikile Mbalula, saying that the Minister of Defense will this week and the various generals will update the nation on what is currently happening in Goma and the South African mission under the United Nations. What is particularly happening, the safety of the South African soldiers, the ammunition, do they have enough ammunition, do they have enough equipment to be equipped to install peace within that particular area. Also, we did see the South African Air Force, Defense Force also issuing out an alert on X yesterday in the evening that it is false news that the fighter jets, the Griffins and the Falcons, have been deployed within that particular area.
All right, Samkele, we're going to let you go. Thank you so much for giving us that update. That was my colleague there, Samkele Maseko.